now at $1,600. Is there any advance at $1,600?
On Thursday, May 15th, Swan will be conducting a two-part auction dedicated to photographic literature, our morning session, which starts at 10:30 a.m., and photographs, our afternoon session, which starts at 2:30 p.m. Swan conducts auctions dedicated to photographic literature twice a year, but this sale is really special. We are offering selections from the library of David Raymond, a noted collector of surrealist photography and also surrealist photo books. This particular sale features a concentration of books by Hans Bellmer, Claude Cahun, Roger Paris, and other photographers associated with the surrealist movement. In addition, we have a range of works by Japanese photographers, Eiko Hosoe, Daido Moriyama, and numerous other figures that were really important in the Japanese photo book movement of the 1960s, 1970s. And of course, there are book works by Robert Frank, Ed Ruscha, and a host of other American artists and photographers who are really responsible for the growth of the photo book market and appreciation of photographic literature as an art form. Lot 23 is Hans Bellmer's masterwork, Le Jeu de la Poupée. Bellmer was a surrealist artist, a German figure, consummate draftsman who became interested in photography and surrealism in the 1920s. Bellmer became interested in creating, literally fabricating, a prepubescent female doll, did a first book in which he highlighted images that were featuring him in relationship with the doll, as well as the doll alone, that were not hand-colored. One of the characteristics of Le Jeu de la Poupée is that it is a limited edition, and the 15 photographs that are featured are all very oddly hand-colored, in keeping with the subject matter of this book, which is very startling indeed. I mean, when you see this doll, which is quite sexually defined, I think that the full impact of what it meant to be a surrealist artist is conveyed. When we look at the content of this book, we see a series of very highly erotically charged images. But the idea of the artist's book is also contained within the covers of this work, because there is something intimate at the same time as shocking and disturbing as one turns the pages of the book and sees this truncated torso with oversized putenda and just this kind of very sexually defined female creature, not quite human, not quite animal, somewhere in between. Le Jeu de la Poupée has influenced countless artists, but one of the more major figures is Cindy Sherman, who was obviously inspired by this doll-like figure and the large format color photographs that she created in the 1980s, 1990s, in which, as a woman, she's depicting herself, but completely transmogrified and unrecognizable. Often in our photographic literature sales, we're fortunate enough to offer issues of Camera Work, the very sophisticated fine art publication edited by Alfred Stieglitz. Lot 39 is Camera Work number 48. That's the first issue devoted to a young photographer named Paul Strand. Lot 40 is the last issue of Camera Work 4950, a double issue that also features the work of Paul Strand. Camera Work 4950 features 11 photogravures that are a modernist selection of street portraits and scenes of New York City, as well as abstractions. One of the most famous images that Strand produced during this period is a very poignant image of a blind woman who's wearing a sign that says "blind" below her. In looking at this image, there's a sense of some sort of privacy that's invaded and a different sensibility around public and private space, which in some ways is an investigation of modernist photography. At the same time, the idea of abstraction and fragmenting images is something that concerns Strand, and he explores this in a number of images, including this photogravure of a fence in shadow, where you see these striations and you see the play of light and shadow, but you still know what you're looking at. And then there are also a series of bird's eye pictures in which he is looking at New York and looking at street life from a perspective that becomes a lot more popularized in the 1920s, especially by Soviet artists like Rodchenko, this kind of bird's eye skewed view that really lent itself to graphic design. So Strand is certainly an American visionary, an American pioneer, and it's Stieglitz who really promotes his work for the first time on the pages of Camera Work. One of the reasons why these issues of Camera Work are so rare and so desirable is that in the early days of the magazine, 1904, Stieglitz had a subscribership of about 500 members, private patrons, institutional collectors who were interested in the aesthetics of fine art and wanted to support this publication. By 1917, 1918, the subscribership was limited to about 50 individuals and institutions. And so extant copies of this issue and the issue that precedes it are exceedingly rare. And finding copies where all of the plates are in evidence and in beautiful condition, and in the case of Lot 40, the double issue, with this box that actually housed the original issue and has Strand's handwritten notations in green ink and Stieglitz's more Germanic, florid script as well, really gives me goosebumps in terms of these guys actually touched this, and now we're offering it.